Hello, welcome to Essaouira in Morocco. This is the finish location for the Atlas Mountain Race, and it's a race which I've just finished for the third time. So in this video, I'm going to give you a quick run through my Mason Macro, which is the bike that I used to complete the race. Before I go any further though, I just want to say a big thank you to Enduro Bearings for sponsoring all my Atlas Mountain Race coverage. I'm running Enduro Bearings on my bike, so I'll go into more details about them further on in the video. But yeah, for now, just say thanks to Enduro Bearings. So the bike that I've used for the Atlas Mountain Race is the brand new Mason Macro. Now this is actually pretty much the same bike that I used last year. There's a few small changes to it, but all in all, it's a very similar tried and tested package. As you can see, there's no paint on the frame, just the raw finish. So yeah, this was one of the very first prototypes that came through. Generally, I get some of the earlier rides models just to test, and the new ones, painted models, only turned up a couple of days before the race. So basically I stuck with what I knew to avoid a bit of extra stress building a new bike straight before the race. Now, as with all aluminium Masons, this is Diadachi tubing, and it's welded and painted in Italy. Obviously this one isn't painted just yet, but if it was, it would be in Italy, in one of the many small artisan workshops that Mason use. And yeah, this bike's done me proud. I've done 2 Atlas Mountain races on it so far, plus the Accursed race in the Balkans. And yeah, it's been an excellent bike and very capable over this kind of rough off-road terrain. So one change I've made to the bike for this year is the fork. I've got the new Sid Ultimate. The old one had done probably 4 or 5 ultras, so it needed replacing. So yeah, got the latest Sid Ultimate on there. I always run the 35mm stanchion version on this bike. I just prefer the stiffness, and I think also having those slightly bigger bushings in there just helps them last a little bit longer. Although having said that, they'll be serviced as soon as I get home, and they'll be serviced before the next race. Just got to really look after the suspension, otherwise you'll just end up trashing it pretty quickly. I've got the lockout on the handlebars, so I lock it out on the road or the long climbs and then click it off for the rougher sections. The group set's pretty much exactly the same. XT, well, it's a mix of XT and SLX from Shimano. 12 speed, I had a new chain and cassette on, 34 tooth chain ring, and again, tried and tested, and it just works. Mechanical, for me, is the way to go at the moment. I've tried like the SRAM wireless and stuff, and I'm not convinced it's the way forward for these ultra races. However, I have just seen that there might be some new Di2 XT electronic mountain bike group sets, so I'll be very excited to try one of those if they came out pretty soon. I've also upgraded the bearings in my drive chain with Enduro Bearings XT15. Now I'm running the XT15 bottom bracket. The main thing that differentiates Enduro Bearings from the competition is basically deeper grooves and slightly bigger ball bearings. So by using nitrogen infused steel, which is kind of like the highest grade steel you can get at the moment, they're able to machine the grooves in the bearing slightly deeper, which means bigger balls, which means better sort of stability within the bearing. So essentially these bearings last super well, and they kind of get sort of faster and faster as they basically spin and smooth the surface inside, which doesn't deteriorate over time. And you can see I've also upgraded the jockey wheels with the XT15 jockey wheels, and I've got XT15 bearings in the rear wheel, but not the front, because you can't replace the bearings in the Son dynamo without it going back to Son. The other small change on the bike from last year, I've now got my hands on some production proven XC dynamo wheels. These are the new wheels from Hunt, and yeah, I've been using them in various forms for the last 3 or 4 years. So yeah, these are finally available for production. 30mm internal width rim, the Son 28 dynamo hub on the front there, so I could power my lights and charge my gadgets and stuff, and I did that via the K-Lite system. Now Kerry at K-Lite has very kindly sent me their new Pro system. I think I've pretty much got the neatest setup I've had in terms of the dynamo charger so far. It just sits under the stem there. All the wires are nicely kind of contained, and I could just sort of plug it in and out of the Wahoo GPS as and when I needed. Mounted on my Hunt proven rims are the Hutchinson skeleton tyres. Now these are Skeleton's kind of World Cup cross-country tyre for sort of super fast conditions. They've got a really fast rolling centre line and a nice little grip on the side, and actually I was really pleased with them. I ran these in a 2.3. There's still a fair bit of grip on them. I mean, you probably wouldn't want to run them for anything longer than the Atlas, because I think you would start getting the tyre pretty thin. But they work fine for me, nice and grippy, fast rolling, no punches, 0 issues. So yeah, I can't really complain about the tyres. Now onto the rest of the cockpit. I've already got the shifter, the lockout for the forks on there on the left hand side, as you can see. Running Shimano SLX brakes. I mean, Shimano brakes are great, they just work. So yeah, just use the SLX on this build. I've also got the little Data Blast triathlon TT bars on there. I find these work really well for this kind of race. There are some road sections, but you don't need an awful lot of kind of time in the aero bars. And I just find these are nice and small and compact, and they don't cluster up the handlebars too much, and you can still get a pretty nice aero position if you need it. I've also modified some Redshift top grips for drop bars. I just put them inside the brake levers, just gives me another hand position, and it works quite nicely. Then I have my Wahoo, which isn't here at the moment, just on the top cap mount there, and then everything's nice and neat in the center of the bars. Grips are Ergon's GS3. I really like the hand positions and the ergo kind of grip on there. I always get some kind of numbness on the Atlas race, but not on the other races, and I think having Ergon grips on there has really helped prevent the worst. My hands are feeling the best they've ever felt after Atlas this year. Other years they've been numb for 2 months afterwards. I just think it's the roughness of the ground here. The Atlas mountain race is very relentless. Everything is just trying to smash you all the time. The ground, the lack of food, the conditions. So any bit of comfort you can get is a benefit. On the Ergon theme, I've also changed saddle this year. This is the Ergon SMC Core Team. It's basically got a little bit more cushioning than the previous one I used. Again, I went for this because I know how rough the tracks are here. And it's been nice and comfortable, you know, no saddle numbness, anything like that, really comfy. So I'd recommend that. And also the Redshift suspension seat post, the shock stop seat post, 30mm of travel. It's almost essential if you're running a hardtail here in Morroco. Just allows you to sit down and pedal over the bumps. And again, just saves a little bit of energy. For me, ultras are all about saving energy when you can. And if you can put a seat post on your bike that does it for you, then that's a good thing. So another important factor in Morocco is keeping hydrated. Obviously, you're on the edge of the Sahara Desert at times, you're in the mountains. It's very dry, very dusty, so you need to keep on top of hydration. I'm not really a fan of hydration packs, so I've managed to get 3 1-litre bottles on the frame. Obviously having a large size frame or an XL frame in Mason sizing really helps, and that means I can squeeze one in the triangle. I put one underneath using the Lezyne sort of nylon cages, which I find grip the bottle really well. And then on the top tube, Tailfin have actually made me a custom bottle mount using their rubber straps and kind of a 3D printed block, and that worked really well, stayed solid, held the bottle. So yeah, hopefully that's something that Tailfin might put into production. Speaking of Tailfin, as you can see, I'm running the custom R&D division bag still. This is a custom frame bag. I used it for this race last year. Works a treat. In the main compartments for my layers, and then the bottom compartment is my tools and repair stuff. I'm running the custom cargo aero pack. Now a lot of people have asked me about this, and as you can see, it's got the mesh pockets on the side. I do believe it's coming out and being launched by Tailfin very soon, so don't ask me an exact date, but watch this space. In here I have my sleeping gear. I won't bring it all out now. I'll do a separate video on that, what I carried in my bags and my layers and clothing, because I had some pretty cool layers from Albion. But essentially I had a sleeping pad, a really lightweight bivvy, and my PhD design sleeping bag, which I've used for, well, probably 6 or 7 years now. It's a 6 degree bag, and then I had a little down gilet just to give me a little bit of extra warmth at night. So yeah, at the moment, as you can see, it looks like I've got a lot more stuff than I actually have, but I basically gave myself loads of space so I can just shove everything in without being too neat about it. So yeah, this was my last night's packing effort, and as you can see, it's a bit of a mess. The top tube bag, that is the trusty first ever top tube bag prototype from Tailfin. Unfortunately, just after I finished, I split the zip, so I'm afraid it's the end of an era for that. But I always prefer this one because it's got mesh on the side, and you get lots of like wrappers and stuff here when you're eating chocolate bars and things, and sweets. So yeah, I just find it really useful to control litter basically. But yeah, that's met the end of its met its demise now, so I'm a bit sad about that. But it's done me some good service. I've been using that since 2022, so you know, not bad for a prototype. So on the back of my tail fin cargo aero pack, I've just got a couple of lights. Now I actually ended up using the standard aero pack light mount, which just bolts onto the bolts on the bottom of the pack here. And on there I put my Exposure Boost R rear light, that's my main rear light. And then I've just got this little cat eye one that just clips on the back. So I've got 2 lights at all times. To be honest, I didn't really use them that much because when I'm in the middle of an off-road section, I wouldn't have the light on. So yeah, but it's always important to have 2 lights. And then you can see some of the remains of my food just hanging out of the bag there. Cookies and stuff that I didn't manage to eat in the last day. By that point, I was so over sweet food, so it just went uneaten. So there we go, that is my Mason Macro that I used for the Atlas Mountain race. Thanks for watching the video. I'll do another video when I get back to the UK, just unpacking the bike and showing you what's in the bags, my layers, my sleeping gear and all of that stuff. In the meantime, check out the channel, keep an eye out for the rest of the Atlas Mountain Race videos, and thanks to Enduro Bearings for sponsoring it, and see you in the next one.